life works out, but I definitely, knew that I wanted to go to California. And when I set my mind to something, I'm a lady who tries to make it happen.
There you go. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Not a lot. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you so much for doing this and being flexible and rescheduling. I appreciate
Of
it.
course. I'm so excited to be here today.
Awesome. I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new song. I just watched the video. It's really cool. I can't wait to hear all about your journey. So born and raised in Connecticut? Is that what I read?
Yeah, so I actually was born in New York, and then when I
Oh,
was 15, I moved to Connecticut, and that
how you said
informed
13? Sorry, I
when I
I
was
could
15. Sorry,
15. Okay.
I have like a really soft voice, and I get that from a lot of people.
Okay. So
But when I was
you
15,
grew up in, yeah. So basically up until what, high school you lived in New York?
yeah, until sophomore year of high school, I lived in New York, and then when I was 15, I moved to Connecticut, and that kind of, I guess, informed a lot of my early songwriting, just because it was kind of like that weird, it's like a weird age to move, right? So
Mhm.
you're not a like real adult, but you're not like a teenager, and you're just like figuring out dating and figuring out friends. And so
And
that was
you just
right.
started, like, you already had established a high school and probably a group of friends that you grew up with. And then it's like, all
Yeah.
right, now you got to figure out all these new people for the next only 3 years of your, high school life.
Yeah, for sure. It was a really like strange time to move. And also like that was my first experience ever being isolated. So my whole life I had like my group of friends and I kind of knew I knew everyone, right? Like I grew up in a small town. And then for the first time in my life, I just really knew my parents. My sister and my brother had just gone off to college. So it was like my first experience really being alone.
Mhm.
And I would say that that definitely made me into a songwriter. Because what do you do when you're bored, alone, lonely? Start writing a lot. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I want to rewind a little bit here. So, grew up in New York. You said you were in a small town in New York. What part of New York do you live
Yeah.
in?
I grew
That's
up in
interesting to
Larchmont.
hear.
So
Okay.
it's like in Westchester, a really small town. Kind of everybody knows everybody. Um, I'm debating saying something. Never mind, I'm not going to say it. It's like a
Just
very
say
small town.
it.
Everybody really does know everybody in Larchmont. And so it's like, even if you go for a stroll down the block, you're either going to see someone you know, or somebody is going to see you through the window. Somebody is going to know where you are. You're
Oh.
trying to, sneak out. Somebody's mom is going to call your mom. So that's kind of the vibe of the town.
Okay, so there's no way to really break the rules in that sense. Like, somebody will see you and you will get busted.
I mean, there's always a way. It's just how much willpower do you have to do
It's
it?
just a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so everyone knows everyone. So you have probably the same group of friends going through what, elementary school, middle school, and then
Oh,
into high
yeah.
school.
Oh yeah, for sure. We all grew up together. Like we were all singing in my garage, playing rock band since like the age of 5.
Oh,
And
wow.
then yeah, so it's definitely like I had a core group. And then I moved to Connecticut, and I actually moved to like a different region of Connecticut where the school system was really large. So I went to like a 3,000, 4,000 person school. So I kind of felt like being
That
a
must have been a shocker. Yeah.
it was just a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Well, I mean, how difficult that must have been, so difficult to be like, okay, I mean, how far is Connecticut from where you grew up? It's not that close, right?
Like 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
Okay, it's not horrible.
It wasn't terrible, but I also couldn't drive.
Oh,
I
sure.
was
Okay.
15.
You're 15. But
Yeah,
do you
so
still stay in contact with your friends from there? So once you all get your licenses, it's like, all right, now we can go meet up.
a little bit. Like we did stay in touch, some of my closest friends, but I kind of found that like once I switched schools, it just became my new life. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so, yeah, you just kind of grow differently. But
Right.
the closest friends I still kept in touch with for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how old are you when you start finding an interest for music? Like, was that pretty early on?
Yeah. So when I was 15 for sure was when I like got really into music. It was right after I moved. I kind of spent that summer by myself. And that, like I said, that was like my first time being really by myself. And so that was the time where I really delved in on YouTube. Like I would spend a lot of my days watching interviews with like Taylor and
Mm,
Lana, just like really delving into the creative process and like songwriting. And so about that age was when I think I wrote my first song when I was like 14 or 15, like right around that time.
okay.
And so, yeah, I just
Well,
started writing every day, getting really into it. And you get better the more songs that you write. And then you
sure.
slowly start to write hundreds, and then you're like, damn, became easy.
Well, before that though, like you obviously were singing rock band and stuff in your garage. Like, was that something that you always had a passion for, even earlier than writing, obviously? And were you what about like an instrument? Were you put in piano lessons or anything like that growing up?
That's really interesting. I feel like that's the one thing that my parents like didn't nail. Like I wish if I ever have kids, they're going to be in piano lessons from like the age of 4. But
Okay.
I didn't play any instruments growing up. When I was 15, I begged my dad for a Taylor acoustic guitar, and he did get it for Christmas when I was 16. So that was like my first experience of an instrument. But singing, they did a really good job facilitating that interest when I was a kid. Like my
Uh-huh.
sister and I would put on nightly shows, and so we'd like run downstairs, and my parents would sit on the couch and for hours and watch our shows and let us sing. So they were good about that for sure.
And you still work with your sister, right? She's like is she your manager or she helps
Yeah.
like with your career now?
So Jacqs is my manager. This is totally like we've really gone full force into this together. So
Uh-huh.
every step of the way, it's kind of just been us two. And Jacqs is, we call her sisager Jacqs because she's my sister and manager. So like sisager.
I like
Uh,
it.
and yeah, we're Jacqs and Juls. She is great at management. And it's really interesting because before I even came to her and I was like, hey, I have this interest in singing and songwriting, she was really interested genuinely in management. And so she went to college and studied management. And then I came to her and I was like, hey, how would you feel about possibly maybe managing me?
Hmm.
She was like, yeah, of course, I would love that. And then it just became something bigger.
Wow. Okay. So you were writing songs at 15 and you get this Taylor guitar, and are you learning how to play guitar at that point too?
A little bit,
Okay.
but it wasn't an immediate process for me. I definitely delved very deeply into songwriting.
Okay.
And for my high school years, that was like my focal point where I would just drive to the water and I would write songs for hours, and I loved doing it and I loved everything about that. And it felt like an ethereal escape of some type, just because you could really write about anything, right? So you could like create narrative plots and create stories. And I was always very creatively inclined. So that was my interest.
Hmm.
But then I would say when I got to college and I started living in a dorm a little bit, and like, I don't know, it just became more cool to play guitar. Like, yeah, I'm learning guitar.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
that's when you really started to learn guitar, was when you made it, or when you ended up going to college?
Yeah, when I turned 18, that was
Okay.
when I really started like getting into chords and learning guitar and wanting to play live and stuff like that.
So prior to that, when you're writing songs, you just would have melodies in your head, and would you show anyone your songs?
I um I would use my guitar to write, so I would know like 4 basic chords and I would go
Oh,
off of
okay.
there. But I definitely didn't feel confident enough to like play my guitar for people while singing my songs. It was more of like a little secretive thing. Like I don't even think people realized how serious I was about songwriting until I got to college. Because in high school it was kind of like my thing. But
Hmm.
I would like talk about it to people, but I was really coy. I've always been like very enigmatic sometimes.
Okay. But what changed when you went to college? Is that when you start showing people your songs?
What changed when I got to college was just the desire became I mean, it was always strong. And I always wanted to, but I guess I wasn't brave enough as a young woman.
Mhm.
And then I got to a point where my desire just outweighed my fear. And then I was like, F it.
Right. Right. And then do you what? Show somebody in your dorm that you know how to write and play?
Yeah, for sure. All my friends, I was like, hey, I'm a songwriter.
Okay.
And I don't think any of them, I think that at the time they're all just like, yeah, whatever, like another songwriter too. But then as I've been doing it throughout the years, I think that they've been a little bit more like, okay, like she takes it seriously.
Right. Were
And
you going to college for music or for songwriting?
no,
No.
I'm pursuing a business degree.
Oh, okay. Are you so you're still in school now?
I have one semester left. Yeah,
Oh,
my final
fun.
year. So
Where are you going? Are you in Connecticut still?
no, right now I live in Los Angeles and
Oh,
go to
okay.
USC.
I'm
Um,
sorry. You go to USC?
USC, fight on, go
There you go.
Trojan. It's the
There's a,
best
that's
school.
yeah, that I mean that's a great school for songwriting too. I mean, there's a lot of creatives that go there.
Well, that's actually why I chose USC. So basically it's really interesting because like in high school, my mom was like, where do you want to go to school? And the first place that ever came out of my mouth, I was like, I want to live in California and I want to go to USC. And my mom immediately was like, no, you're not going
Right.
to do that.
That's all the way across the whole country.
Yeah. And I grew up in like a really strict family. So my mom was like, no chance. You're not even applying. No way. And
Oh.
so I ended up going to the furthest school that I got accepted to.
Oh, is it so that must have been on purpose?
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to transfer and I knew that I wanted to end up at USC. Um,
Okay.
I didn't know if I could make it reality, but I did.
Hmm.
And that was part of the reason why I wanted to go to USC was just because they have, I mean, the professors there are crazy. They're amazingly talented. I'm taking a voice class this semester with Professor Lindia Johnson. And I think in the past month, I've seen more growth in my voice than in 21 years of life. So
Wow.
obviously the staff is beyond incredible. And I just feel very lucky to go there.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
funny that you chose the furthest college away and then right when you did like what was your parents' reaction to like, oh yeah, and then now I'm actually going. I'm going all the way to California. He said,
Well, the reason why they let me go to the furthest college away was because I got a scholarship. So there was no way to
uh
say no to that. It was like extra money in your kid's pocket, right? Like they're
yeah.
like setting you up for.
Strategic. That sounds like was it something like that you were like, I'm gonna apply here and then I'm gonna just hope I get a scholarship because then at that point, like there's a totally like you have leverage.
I mean, yeah, life works out, but I definitely, knew that I wanted to go to California. And when I set my mind to something, I'm a lady who tries to make it happen.
There you go. Had you ever been to California before, or you just knew that USC had a reputation for being a great school?
That's the really funny part is that I hadn't ever been to California, but I knew I would love it here. I definitely had like very starry eyes whenever I thought about California.
Okay.
And so I just, full send. I knew that I wanted to be here and I loved it just as much when I got here. I did tour the school once before. I wasn't that crazy where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna move across the country, but
Right.
like very short tour, and I just kind of you feel things. Like
Mhm.
I feel like we all have like these internal compasses that guide us along our journeys, and you can feel when something is right for you and when something is not right for you.
Mm.
And I knew that this was right for sure.
Do you still love it in California?
Yes, I definitely
Okay. I'm only asking. I'm from San Diego. I'm born and raised in California.
amazing. It's the best place on earth to be from. The coolest
Yeah, it was
people.
cool to be from for sure. And then I lived in San Francisco for a while and then back to San Diego. Now I live in Nashville, which I love.
You live in Nashville?
Yeah, which is my favorite.
Up. I've literally my whole entire life, before I wanted to go to USC, I also applied to Vanderbilt because that was like number two.
Oh,
I
okay.
always have wanted to visit, live, experience Nashville. What's it like?
It's the best. I like I said, I live in California my whole life, and this is the best decision I've ever made in my life. My family and I moved here, and it's like we love it.
Amazing. Have you heard of the Bluebird Cafe?
Yes, I have. That's where Taylor Swift kind of popped off.
Yeah. It's been like my life dream to play there. So I'm putting that out into the universe right now that if I could have anything happen, I would love to play there.
There's a lot. They do like a lot of songwriter rounds and open mics and type deals like that still there. I mean, it's still a thing, right? I mean, there's a lot of places like that in Nashville for artists to kind of.
So cool. Like how freaking cool. You literally live in the music city. Like if any night of the week you can just go out anywhere and there are these amazing songwriters
All
performing.
over. It's insane. Yeah, I mean, even if you go to Broadway, like the main like touristy spot, it's like every bar there's like 4 levels and they all have a band on every single level. It's a different band playing. It's crazy.
I'm very jealous of you right now. I love California and very few things could have made me jealous, but right now I'm jealous.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's great out here. It's yeah. Coming from California. But so like when you get to USC, were you intimidated at all? Like now you're in this big city and you're with you're in the entertainment capital type deal, and USC is known for songwriting, and now you're around all these people that are kind of at that level. Like, were you more excited or nervous or?
I was definitely very nervous. I was very excited. I try not to be intimidated just because I believe like you should want to surround yourself with people that are better than you at whatever you're doing. Just because that's the only way to get better. And
Mhm.
I always say, like, if you're completely comfortable, then you're not growing into your highest potential. And so, if what you want for yourself is to become the best version or just to become better, then obviously you kind of got to push yourself outside of your comfort zone. And so that was how I felt when I first came to USC. I felt uncomfortable, a little bit nervous, a lot excited. And yeah, I mean, life really does always work itself out. And there's always going to be, someone out there who's willing to champion you and help you along your journey. And so I feel like I got very lucky where I kind of found my people and I found that. Yeah.
So you are like when you got there, you're able to find some like-minded people in songwriting and what
Scene was
about release?
great.
I'm
The
sorry?
music scene at USC was like the most supportive. One of my friends, Jordan, I met him the first semester that I was ever there, and like he really took me under his wing and just showed me like a lot of the music scene there. And the most supportive, I don't think I'd really experienced like support like that, where if even if I sucked, like I'd get 5 people who came up to me and they were just like, "You're amazing."
Oh, that's awesome.
And so people in that environment were really kind and really supportive. And yeah, I definitely have nothing but good things to say about that environment.
What about your sister? Does she live in LA too with you?
My sister lives with me. So
Oh, so
we're
that works
sisters.
out. So she can manage you from, where you are, your home.
Yeah, so we're sisters. She's my manager. We're best friends. We live together. The list really goes on and on. But Jacqs and I are like,
That's cool.
she's my
Very,
ride or die.
yeah. What
Yeah.
about releasing music? Was the first time you put like a song out on like Spotify or something, was that when you lived in LA or prior?
So Jacqs and I really started the process of like creating music. I was in my dorm at Tulane at the time, learning how to, I guess, play guitar, and then COVID hit. And so at this
Mm.
point, it was time to go back to Connecticut. And that was when I would say Jacqs and I really started shifting gears and learning more about how to actually make the music inside my head and that I was playing for her into something more tangible. And so we just took some like basic steps to kind of learn what goes into making music. I bought a Scarlett interface
Oh
and
yeah, that's what I have. The
yeah,
2i2.
yeah, exactly. Not that expensive, but it has a pretty good sound and it's great for beginners. And I started by locking myself in my closet and just I would sit in the closet a lot during COVID and just record myself and figure out what I liked on the mic and what I didn't like on the mic. And then we started looking into recording studios that we could find that were open, and trying to actually take some of that and test it out on a real mic in a real recording studio, with beats that I'd found online. And we kind of started just recording and messing around that way. And then I would say over the summer of COVID was when we met the first producer that I ever really worked with. And he was first my vocal engineer. Then he was like, "Hey, I'm a producer as well. Like, we should work together that way." And I was like, "Hell yeah, I would love to work with a producer and make my songs and try to learn more about the process." And so during COVID was when we really, I think that was the first time that I really like made a song. And that was the coolest learning experience for me.
Hmm.
Then when I moved to California, I I just I got really lucky, and this guy that I had a song written for in the past texted me one day and he was like, "Hey, I've been mentoring this producer, and he, I think obviously you're a songwriter and he's a producer, and you guys kind of like fill in each other's blank spots, and I think you'd work really well together. So you guys should just get into the studio and create." And we did. We just created, and I kind of came to Alex and I was like, "Hey, I have these songs and I don't know how you feel about this, but would you maybe be interested in trying something out?" And it's kind of like one of those, I don't know. It's one of those things in life. Sometimes there's magical moments in life where you meet people,
Hmm.
kind of like finish off your sentences, and you feel like you've known them for a lot longer than you really have. And that was how my working relationship with Alex always was, where I would come to him and I would have this song that I'd written in my bed the night before or something, and he would just understand exactly what I heard in my brain and what I had in mind for it. And so with Heartbreaker, it was a really similar process where I wrote the song in my bedroom and then I came to him and he had this larger than life vision for it and quite literally broke speakers creating the sound.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We laugh a lot about that because he got into some trouble making this song.
Oh yeah, equipment's breaking. That's not. Yeah, that's not a good thing. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but the one that you released, the record you released before that summer thing, that one, streamed really well on Spotify. Like, tell me about that. Like, that must have been a really cool
Yeah.
thing to see.
It was really massively cool. That was the first song that we put out since moving to California. And it's definitely, I feel like the sound that I've been trying to create for a while, but couldn't really find. And to me, it just sounds like everything kind of oceanic and everything blue. And blue is
Mhm.
my favorite color. So I love anything ethereal sounding and transcendental. And it had this really beautifully organic production, sort of minimalistic, yet still categorically pop. And so I'm really proud of that track specifically. And that was definitely like a really big moment in my life because I'd written that song on a couch. And then for the first time ever, I took something that I'd written on a couch and it was actually something real where it was like, oh my gosh, this is bigger than my wildest imagination. And something that was inside of my head is quite literally better than my imagination for it, better than my wildest dreams. And it's out in the universe. And that was so freaking cool. That was really cool.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And like I said, and it did really well too, which is validating on your end.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Have you played out in LA at all?
Yeah, we've been playing a lot of live shows over the past 6 months. I would say I played like 4 live shows. And so I'm starting to get to see more people. And sorry, the like I'm saying live shows is like pre-booked, pre like
Right.
planned live shows, but maybe my sister's sitting over there. She's like 7.
No, all good. Yeah. So okay,
um,
yeah. So you have been playing out in LA quite a bit, or a little bit. Sounds
yeah,
like.
I'm playing out in LA. I love it every single time. I feel like I'm starting to get to know more people. Gets
Mhm.
more fun every single time, and I'm just excited to keep going. Yeah.
Love it. And Heartbreaker you released pretty, you know, it's not very, it just kind of came out, right? And then
Heartbreaker came out like last week.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fresh, but do you have other songs that you have recorded and ready to come out as well?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I was
I
just
have
curious.
I have a few albums worth of music written,
Oh, wow.
like, and I
Okay.
have albums planned in my head, like names and titles and everything, but I also have like this first EP recorded, and we're in the process of mixing and mastering it, but this is definitely just the beginning. I get so excited with every single song, but my brain works like years in advance, and I definitely have a lot to say.
I love it. Very
Yeah.
cool. So you have an EP, and is Heartbreaker going to be part of the EP? Or is that just a single that? Okay.
Yeah. I'm really excited. Heartbreaker is definitely like one of my favorite songs ever. Um, it's just like everything that I've ever wanted to create, because I quite like music that's a little bit angstier. Like I take a lot of influence from people like Lana Del Rey. I don't
Hmm.
know. Do you listen to Lana?
Yeah, I know her songs.
Okay, cool. She's like, in my eyes, she can do no wrong ever. Like she's
Okay.
definitely um if anybody has like an idealistic version of like perfection in their head, that's Lana Del Rey to me, and her
Okay.
art to me. And so I kind of I really attribute everything that I've ever done to her work, and I feel like it really paved the way for my songwriting. And so I was really excited about this song because I feel like it kind of delves into those deeper narrative plots and like storylines that she loves to go into, and so that really is definitely where I'm headed and what I love to do.
Really exciting. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jules, for doing this. I really appreciate your time today.
Of course, I had the best time. I really appreciate you sitting with me.
Of course. I have one more question before I let you go. I want to know if you have advice for aspiring artists.
um just do it. Like there's a lot of I think that there's a lot of mental pushback that we deal with as artists, where we're like, is this good enough? Am I good enough? And I feel like that I want to do it, but I can't do it. I want to do it, but I can't do it is kind of the hardest thing that we face. So if I could give any new artist advice, it'd be to start before you're ready and just create art and just do it and push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Because no matter the outcome, you're going to grow from that, and you're going to learn a lot about yourself, about your music, and become better. Yeah. So just do it.
Bringing it backward.